morning. I am Murdock with Murdock Sports, and I'm here to give you my Sunday picks. Please follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, share this with your friends and your family. Last week we stacked chips. We had more right than we had wrong, and we're going to be turning that right into today's games. There's some attractive games on the board, so let's get right into that. The first game that we're going to break down is Pittsburgh at Atlanta. Pittsburgh last week put up 42 points. Playing Cincinnati. Atlanta was a doormat for the first half against Green Bay, and they came back to cover that game. Green Bay was the game that I really enjoyed last week until they had the backdoor touchdowns. Reminded me of Virginia Tech and Rick Beamer. But anyway, left or right, we do have Atlanta at home. We're going to take Pittsburgh. We're not going to lay the 3 points or 2.5 points. I'm not going to flip coins with and let a money line pass by me. I always take a money line when it's a close game like this with a 2.5 or 3 points. I'll spend a little bit more and get that same money coming on the back side. So I'll take Pittsburgh with the money line today, minus 145 or so. Also, a consolation prize in this game. I think that the over gets there. The big number's attractive. Atlanta can score a bunch of points. I mean, that offense is potent. They've been disappointing all year, but they certainly have that in the tank. Roethlisberger, I won't say the name out loud. I don't say names that don't pay me, but I do play a daily fantasy team, a game through a particular website that has daily lineups, and I have Roethlisberger today. I picked Roethlisberger over anybody else, and I could have had anybody else. The reason why I picked Ben is he's going to get right today against that Atlanta defense. It's suspect at best. Their bad days are in front of them. Their worst days were behind them. They're just looking to find that vacation cruise ticket that's underneath their pillow and take their family and take a trip. So look for Ben to exploit that today. Big numbers. I think that Pittsburgh gets almost into the 40s. Look for that game to be high scoring. Second game we have is Houston at Indianapolis. A lot of conference games, a lot of division games today. The numbers skewed because of that across the board. I see a few games that I would make you tilt your head and wonder why that number is so light. It is a divisional game, and so take these into consideration. Indianapolis is at home. They're laying 6.5 points. Houston has injuries all over the field. They can score. I like the over of this game as well. If I were to play on one side over the other, it's 49.5 points. I could buy that point down and take north of that. I think Indianapolis is going to score. Houston is going to do the same thing as well. Indy's going to do more of it, lay the 6.5, and I'll meet you at the window for that game. The next game we're going to talk about is Washington at the Giants. Last week, when in the college games that I broke down, the non-sexy game of the day was Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, and you can go back and watch that video. Being sexy doesn't make money, not all the time. Sometimes it's the dog. It's the thing that looks weathered and beat in the corner of the room that is the hottest ticket on the day. Last week was that Oklahoma State-Oklahoma game. This week, it's Washington and it's the Giants at home. Washington's coming in. Quarterback issues. McCoy's back. He's okay. Last week he had some issues. Washington hasn't scored any points as of late. The Giants are going to throw the football all over the place. Washington's defense is in a bad spot. I'm a Redskin fan, and I bleed a little and I die a little inside when I play the other side of my team. But I'm going to do that today. The Giants laying 6.5. The big number 46.5. I'm going to take the north of that as well. I think McCoy's going to lead that team. Alfred Morris is healthy. He's fine. McCoy's going to be all right. Deshaun Jackson's starting to find his groove towards the end of the year. There was a Pierre Garçon sighting 2 weeks ago when Jackson was down. I think the Washington scores 24. I think that the Giants score 34. They're going to cover that 6.5, and the number's going to go north of 46.5. The next game is Green Bay at Buffalo. Green Bay did me last week, and I'm going to give them an opportunity to make amends. They had that huge lead, and they gave that all away. And that's part of the game, and that's what we do. So you have to be willing to accept that through the week. And we took those lumps last week with Green Bay. Green Bay's going on the road. The conditions, they play in cold conditions. The game today is 5 points. I'd like to buy that. I'd like to leave that to where it is. And I believe it's too much Green Bay, not enough Buffalo. Sammy Watkins, the The Buffalo's defense, as we talked about last week, is not what they used to be. Well, they showed up a bit, but overall, Green Bay laying the 5 points here today, I like that a lot. It's my second favorite game on the board, so we're going to take that. The next game on the board is Denver on the road playing San Diego. Division game. You can't take these games. These games are tough to read, to understand, and that's why I do it. The number's 5.5. Denver is on the road. That doesn't matter so much to me as to some. The number's 5.5. We talked about San Diego last week and what Pip Rivers can do. We talked about Peyton and what they can do. Peyton did not score a touchdown last week. It's the first time in 51 weeks that he did not throw a touchdown into the end zone. So if you don't think an ego monster like that is going to take that personal, then you can let me know after the game. But I love Peyton. I mean, Peyton, man, he's something to watch, and the best quarterback that I've seen ever throw a football. With all that being said, the guy's got an ego. I mean, he likes to be Peyton Manning and score those touchdowns, break those records, and be a demigod. And today he's going to throw that football all over the field. I think he's going to throw 4 touchdowns. Look for your proposition bet and find Peyton throwing 3+ touchdowns. You're probably going to get 2-1 on your money. I think he comes out in a big way with the complex and something to prove about last week. So looks for Denver to cover that 5.5 points. Also, the big number's attractive. That's 50.5 points. I'll take north of that. San Diego's going to score some points, and certainly Denver's going to get right today. So I think that's 41 to 33. That number's going to be explosive. The next game that we're going to talk about is Minnesota on the road at Detroit. Favorite game of the week. Again, it doesn't look real sexy on paper, and I don't need the paper to look sexy because when I take it to the window, that's when it gets sexy. Minnesota is 1-7-1 in the last 9 division games, and you add that to the fact that Detroit has Stafford, who has found himself again. He's thrown 3 touchdowns last week. He threw 3 touchdowns on Thanksgiving. CJ is back. He's doing well. Tate's still moving the sticks. The defense is doing what we talked about in our last week's conversation, and they're scoring the points. Stafford's over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Too much Detroit at home. It's going to be a track meet. Teddy's going to do okay. I think that Teddy's going to do well, but not that well. They're not going to be able to run the ball, obviously, with Detroit stopping the run. He's a rookie. It's going to get a little messy. I lay the 8 points. My favorite game of the entire day. And last but not least is Dallas on the road at Philly. Philly does well at home. It's a divisional game. You know, I've seen Washington at its worst, getting 17 points and straight up beating, the opposition. Those conference games are like that. With that being said, Tony Romo, I don't know how he's even walking. I mean, the guy is like 70 years old with the new back, and he's like the $50 million man. He's going to get banged up some more. He's going to be spooked. He's going to be worried. This is a Philadelphia money line game. It's going to be minus 140 or 150. I pay the extra money on the money line. I'm not going to fuss with 2.5 points, 3 points, and get beat on a game that is a 4-point winner and someone kicks a field goal and I get my weekend ruined because I was too selfish and greedy and not take the money line instead of taking the 2.5 instead of laying the money line. Always take that money line. So if you have any questions through the day, hit me up on Twitter. Shoot me a message on Facebook. I like to stack chips. I get generous. I get happy and excited. I have other games that I've broken down. Maybe you have a question about one. Go ahead and hit me up, and I'll get you right. I'm Murdock with Murdock Sports. Again, make sure to subscribe, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Have a great afternoon, and I'll be stacking chips right along with you. Enjoy your day.